Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Amy Jacobson here, John Anthony, and
Hey.
for Dan Proft. Had a lovely time at your boat cruise.
Thank you.
By the way.
Thank you.
You want to thank the sponsors again?
Of course. Open Tax Advocate, Stephen Leahy, Papa Nicholas Coffee. Go to the website, papanicholas.com.
I'm drinking it right now.
Hey, and
drink it every day.
Put in the code Thank You 30. You get 30% off the coffee. They're a new sponsor to my show, as well as Best Dental, Jim Economos. He sponsored it as well.
That's great, and I had a lovely time, so
Yeah.
thank you
Oh,
so
and
much.
Earthworks, Dan Davies.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so currently there is bombing going on in Israel into Hezbollah is bombing into northern Israel, bombs going back and forth. And of course, the Israelis warned people. They said that any residents in the south of Lebanon to move away from any building connected to Hezbollah. And of course, the terrorists are wondering, they're afraid of what's going to explode next.
Yeah.
First the pagers, then the
And
walkie-talkies. Some think this is an act of war. AOC is so upset.
Why is it wrong to blow up a terrorist pager?
Well, currently, U.S. Department of Defense guidelines actually explicitly prohibits the use of booby traps.
They fired a rocket on a soccer field. 12 kids died just playing soccer. You know, when you compare that to blowing up their pager, is that a disproportionate response?
It is important to identify that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization and that there are rules of war.
But you know who's praising it?
Oh.
Calling it a genius idea? Senator Fetterman.
Yeah.
He's all over this.
No, not at all. And I want to be very clear. I thought what Israel chose to do about blowing up the pagers and then walkie-talkies, and then after targeting and eliminating membership and leadership of Hezbollah, I absolutely support that. In fact, if anything, I love it. And Israel demonstrated that they will not allow terrorists not to be held accountable. And I fully support that. And it's not about nothing that has what my colleague has said.
With more on this, let's welcome back to the program Stephen Bucci. Served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Good morning, Mr. Bucci. How are you?
Oh, it's good to be on the show. Thanks for having me back, Amy.
Yeah.
How
So
come you don't get to play golf?
Pardon? Oh, yeah. Well,
play golf.
I do play, but I don't play at fancy places. I play at Park District golf courses, and I'm not going to play golf in Europe anytime soon. But yes, so what do you think? I mean, what could they possibly explode next? We had the pagers, the walkie-talkies. What's left?
It's what's neat about this is that not just the kinetic effects, though those were great, and they got very targeted, hit their operators. These were not pagers that were being sold to the general Lebanese public. These were pagers ordered specifically for Hamas by Hamas. So only the Hamas guys got blown up. There was a few collateral damage casualties, and that's sad. But compared to what Hezbollah has been doing for the last couple of months, come on, it is about as humane and inside of the rules of war as anything I've ever seen. I don't agree with a Democratic senator about much, but when it comes to Israel, Fetterman is hitting it out of the park. He's calling it exactly as I would. And as he said, not only does he approve of it, but he loves it. This was a brilliant operation, was not something, the people like the UN that are saying, oh, this is terrorism. That is baloney. This is not terrorism. It's terrorizing to the Hamas operators because right now they don't know what they can talk on, what they could pick up. I love the memes on X that had, pictures of Hamas sort of looking sideways at their electric toothbrushes and things like that. They're running scared. They don't know where Israel's going to hit them next, and that's exactly where you want a terrorist organization like Hezbollah.
But I mean, who pulled? Was it a button that was pressed and they all exploded at the same time? I mean, this is just out of a James Bond movie, don't you think?
It was brilliant. First, this was just good intelligence gathering. They found out Hezbollah had stopped using their cell phones because they realized Israel was targeting their leadership by location means to then target them with bombs and rockets. And so they stopped using cell phones. They deliberately ordered these old school pagers because they believed, and I think they were right, that technology is harder to track with modern digital signals. And they thought, okay, we got one on the Jews now. We're going to be able to do what we want, except the Mossad also found out about the order, intercepted it en route. That's called a supply chain attack. They got hold of the devices. The details of that I don't know. They somehow captured them and then implanted these devices, the explosives, into the pagers with a triggering device that would go off when a certain number was dialed. Yeah. And we don't know exactly how long those have been in there. They ordered these back, around right after the October 7th attack that Hamas made last October. And then a decision was made, and this is where we're not sure. Did they decide to do it because Hezbollah was about to do another big attack similar to October 7th on Israel, or had they started to get suspicious about the devices and Israel was afraid they were going to figure out that they were all loaded with explosives and would stop using them? So the decision was made to execute the operation. A certain number was dialed that went to all of the pagers in the system, wherever they were. Wow. And they all went off pretty much simultaneously, got Hezbollah operatives, Hezbollah leadership, Iranian IRGC, Quds Force, Spetsnaz type guys who were actually in Syria but were there to advise and assist Hezbollah. And they even got the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon, who, why does he have a Hezbollah pager? Could it be because he's the one transferring orders from Tehran back to this proxy force for Iran? So, no tears there. He was not operating as a diplomat. He was operating as a terrorist in another country. So good on Israel. Wonderful operation. They got 99.9% of the casualties were bad guys. America never operates that precisely. We try to, but we've never been fortunate to get this level of enemy casualties vice collateral damage. So, AOC, the guys at the UN, all these people, Talita Rashid, who's, a congresswoman here in Michigan where I live, sorry, you guys are dead wrong. What Israel did was not only justified, but was something that should be applauded by anybody who cares about peace and stability in the region.
Yeah. Stephen, how did these pagers come about to be made? Was it a company in Taiwan? And how did Israel find out that these pagers and these handheld, because I know they switched out the batteries. That's where they put the detonation. They switched out one of the batteries. You're right about that. But how did Israel come to know that these were being delivered?
Really good intel, and obviously some moles inside of Hezbollah who recognized that they had made the decision to switch from the cell phones to the pagers and then ordered them. These pagers were designed by a company in Taiwan, but it appears that they were actually made by I think that's a Hungarian company.
Okay.
Actually produced them and sold them under license from that company in Taiwan. The
Yeah.
company in Taiwan is saying, "Hey, we didn't have anything to do with this." It's just
Right, because
our
they stopped
design.
off
Well,
somewhere.
aren't they afraid of being, targeted by a terrorist
yeah.
organization, Hezbollah or Hamas? Is that possible?
Oh, well, yeah, because they, if they feel that that company were the ones behind all this, but frankly, it doesn't look like that the Taiwanese, I don't think, had anything to
No.
do with it other than making the design. The Hungarian company that had the license for it, that actually produced them and sold them, I'm not sure they cooperated with Israel, or did Israel just catch the shipment en route and do the switch there? That still remains to be seen. Obviously, the Israelis are not going to brag about it because they're a lot smarter than the American leadership, who feels they got to crow from the rooftops every time they do a covert op, which sort of defeats the purpose of being covert, by the way. But the Israelis tend to be a little quieter. They know that Hezbollah knows that Israel did it, and that's the message that they want to send. Beyond that, the Israelis, they don't have to get it in the newspapers.
And what about the ground attacks, or air missile strikes? Because Israel is targeting Hezbollah weapons facilities. Is this going to escalate to something larger?
It could potentially, but it's also defanging Hezbollah further. Hezbollah is the largest terrorist army in the world and has an incredible number of missiles, rockets, and drones, all designed to fire at the civilian targets in Israel. And right now, Israel has said, stop doing it. And when they hadn't stopped, now they're going out and they're taking out their launchers, their storage sites. And gee, big surprise, most of them are stored in civilian buildings.
Yeah.
Again, that's not Israel's fault. That's Hezbollah using their own civilians as shields. And Israel has finally said, you know what, enough's enough. If you're a civilian, get away from those targets. But if you're there, we're sorry, but we have to protect our own people. And that's what they're doing. So, again, no tears here. This is on Hezbollah, not on Israel.
Yeah. I want to talk quickly about the two assassination attempts. When you look at some of the similarities between the two shooters, they both appeared in Black Rock commercials. But specifically this second guy who was traveling back and forth to Ukraine. Could this have been, I don't want, without sounding like conspiracy theories, but you just never know what as it relates to today and the government. But could Ukraine have had something to do, he worked with an operative from Ukraine that set up this last hit on Trump? Because I believe Ukraine knows, the money's going to cut off if Trump gets in there and becomes president.
I think it would be really stupid if Ukraine did that, because even though Donald Trump has stated, without question, that he is massively skeptical about giving all his aid to Ukraine helter-skelter, he has also shown himself, contrary to what the Dems would love to tell you, that he is anything but a friend to Russia.
Right.
And when they're in their aggressive mode, he's the only president that gave permission to blow away several hundred Russian mercenaries in Syria during the war there, when they were threatening an American special operations base. For Ukraine to try and kill him and take the chance of that coming out and totally closing down any possibility of aid when President Trump gets back in office, I think would have been just incredibly short-sighted. I'm not going to say that somebody in Ukraine didn't tell this knucklehead, hey, it would be really easy if somebody got rid of that guy Trump before he gets in office, because he doesn't really like us. This guy's not well. Other people who operated with him said he was pretty much a screwball. None of us wanted to be around. It could be somebody at a low level that maybe planted that idea. I don't see this as a conspiracy that started at the Zelensky level.
Right,
in
I
the
agree with
Ukrainian
that.
government. Yeah. I just think that's it just doesn't pass the common sense test from Ukraine's interest level.
Yeah.
But,
I saw some of the people that follow him on Twitter before they deleted his account. I mean, it was a lot of people in high-level governmental positions.
Oh, yeah, he got around
in Ukraine.
Washington.
In
Yeah,
Ukraine.
in Ukraine,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But are you surprised Attorney General Merrick Garland, he's not going to be charging him with attempted assassination? So, I mean, if you think about Merrick Garland's thought process, he must somehow think that this man was just in the bush that day on the golf course for some other reason with a weapon.
Yeah,
for 12
he wasn't
hours.
on the golf course hunting for gophers, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
it's again, Merrick Garland. You know, I don't know if he's still mad at President Trump and the Republicans for the fact that he never made it to the Supreme Court. But I got to tell you, the way he plays fast and loose with the law, I think America dodged a huge bullet keeping that man off the Supreme Court.
Amen.
But I mean, this man went and he camped out in a bush at Donald Trump's golf course for 12 hours with body armor, a fully loaded SKS, and that's not enough for attempted charges. All right, so Mr. Bucci, you said that you were in Michigan. How do you think Michigan's going to vote this in 48 days from now?
Well, sadly, the part of Michigan I live in the upper or the middle third of the state. Our third and the upper third vote solidly red all the time. The problem is the lower third of the state, which votes blue, has about 80% of the population.
Oh.
So I will not be surprised if Michigan goes to the Democrats, but it's sad, and I'm just praying that enough people down south will see the reality of the difference between the policy proposals of the two candidates and not just vote the party or not just vote, well, she's a woman or she's a person of color and vote that way. I think that would be unfortunate because I got to tell you that the Democratic platform is not going to help working people. It's not going to help the car industry. It's not going to help the urban areas we have down south in any way, shape, or form. And I think Trump's policies probably would.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, she's not. I'm telling you, I think she's lying about fracking. I think she's lying about EVs. I think she's going to mandate EVs. I think she's going to get rid of fracking. And
but see, that's why
I just don't trust her.
That's why I want Trump to do another debate because the last time Trump didn't really fact check her. He just continued to answer questions. That's why I want another debate because Trump shines in those
gun buyback program.
Trump shines in those moments.
I know. All right,
Yeah.
Stephen Bucci, we're going to have to leave it there for today. He served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Thank you so much, Stephen. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You as well. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.